Triple XP. Triple XP.
Welcome to Triple XP. This is episode 10. I'm Shane, and this is Mike.
Hello.
And with us this week we have Ryan.
I'm back.
Don't forget you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other important podcast places. On this week's episode, we have a spoiler-free Spider-Man review. We talk addictive video games, and Microsoft explains that you shouldn't blow vape smoke into your Xbox Series X. But before we get into any of that, how the devil are both of you?
I mean, I'm much better than the other of your counterparts, Shane. I think.
Struggling this week.
Yeah,
Yes.
I am very hungover today, so you'll be hearing probably not much from me.
I think the term is hanging out of his arsehole.
Yeah, it was Ellie's birthday yesterday, so we went.
Happy birthday, Ellie.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike, you didn't get one, but she does.
Fuck you. But yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty rough, but I'm here. Excited.
He was extremely drunk.
To hear
From
that.
even the snippet that we saw, you were smashed.
Yeah, it was.
And that was
we
quite
saw
early.
we saw like an hour's section, didn't we, between 9 and 10, and that was the warm up for you, I think.
Yeah. That was bottle
Yeah.
2 of wine.
So Mike's hungover, and both me and Ryan are very much sleep deprived from playing lots of PlayStation 5 in the last 2 days.
And I don't see that changing in the next 6 weeks.
No, not at all. But it does mean we can actually talk about a lot of PS5 stuff and our excitements with the big beastie boy as it is.
This is probably a good episode for me to be hungover and not able to function properly because I haven't got a PlayStation 5. So I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
really
yeah.
comment.
Me and Ryan can just dominate the conversation with our love for the console.
Have you got one ordered at all, Mike, or not?
No, I haven't. No, I'm gonna wait till after Christmas because I'm just gonna wait for all the pre-order madness to run down, and then I'll pick one up soon. But
And also
Not
everything to be
watched it.
fixed, which we'll cover in a minute.
yeah,
Yes,
that was my other
The
thing.
TV issues.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a few little bits and bobs to cover on that. But it does mean we're doing things slightly differently this week because Mike is slightly hungover. Ryan is going to be assisting me with covering the news, so that we can get. So that I'm just not the one talking for the entire episode. So should we get straight into the news then?
Yes.
So, firstly, as we just said, both the PS5 launched in the UK, which means now the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S are now officially launched worldwide, with the exception of there's a country where there still isn't out, isn't it? Is it like India or China or something? There's one of the countries that still are, but generally it's launched worldwide. And they both have a few issues. They've both got a few glitches. They've both been experiencing a few bugs. The PS5 has got a rather large rest mode error at the moment, which is working to be fixed, in which it could actually brick your console. So basically, don't use rest mode for the time being. There's some database issues. There's some crashing. There's complaints that the PS5 has a very, very quiet coil whirl sound, which I'll be honest, I've heard from mine.
Can
And
you
it
just
is
say
so
that word
quiet.
again, Shane?
Coil whirl sound. And I'm confused by why people are complaining about it, because honestly it's nothing. It's nothing at all. But
I mean-
people are complaining about it.
I'm having to Google to see if I can find out what it sounds like.
It's just it's essentially just it's that sound it makes when you first turn it on, right? And you've probably heard it when you first turn it on. You got a disc on there. There's that like wooing sound.
yeah.
It's literally just that, which goes away after like 5 seconds.
It's one of those things where, I mean, I'm just grateful that it doesn't sound like it's taken off. I think that I mean, we've had the PS4, which has just sounded like it's about to sort of blow up on like next to my TV. Even if it just wants to whir and beep a little bit, I don't care. It's quieter than its predecessor, so cool.
Exactly. And it's not just the PS5 that suffered from issues. Xbox has had their own bugs and crashes as well. And one person reporting up that their one was just creating this weird green effect on their screen that looked a bit like it was out of the Matrix. It was like green lines coming down the screen. They had no idea. From the article I read, no one knew how that had occurred, and the assumption is it's a faulty unit. But yeah, they've launched, and both me and Ryan have managed to get one.
Out of curiosity, then, so to these points, Shane, have you had any of the issues?
I mean, I've not had the rest mode one because I'm too scared to use rest mode at the moment, so
I
I'm
agree.
just turning it off completely. I've had no database issues, with the exception of when I installed Demon Souls, it went all a bit weird, but I think it was my fault. Because the way the PlayStation 5 does it now is it installs the update first and then installs the game, so you have to keep the game in for the disc in for the whole duration.
Right.
I saw that it came up with the game is ready to go, but it hadn't finished installing, so I took the disc out to install something else, not realising it hadn't finished installing everything. So it didn't install it properly, it didn't have the Demon Souls logo. When I went to put the disc in, it said that there was 2 versions of it, so I just deleted the whole thing and then reinstalled it and just left it properly and didn't fucking interfere with it, and now it's absolutely fine. I've had no crashes though. The coil sound is nothing, it's negligible. But I've had literally no issues. And I know when we talk about Spider-Man in a minute, I know you're going to bring up a few issues that you've had. I have not had a single issue with Spider-Man, apart from one very minor piece of audio missing, where 2 people were talking and one person couldn't be heard. Right. And that lasted for about 5 seconds. I've not had any crashes. I've not had any slowdown, any frame rate issue. I've had nothing at all.
That's good.
What about yourself?
Well, I mean, obviously you touched upon sort of what I'm going to talk about in Miles, but the big one that freaked me out was when my PlayStation just turned itself off. I don't think that was a Miles trigger. I think that was just a PlayStation trigger. And you could imagine, and I see that other people are reporting it as well. So it basically just stopped. Screen went blank. And I was like, shit, this is like 4 hours old, and that's all I'm going to get. And I'm going to have to wait until next year to get my replacement. It wouldn't turn on with the controller, so I had to turn it on the unit itself, and that was where I was on the edge of my seat. Let's put it. And it rebuilt the database, and then came back in. It said my Miles, like my Spider-Man save, was corrupted, but it repaired itself. And yeah, it's fine ever since. But I now live in constant fear that this is going to happen again. I hope it was a blip. I hope it's not my unit, but time will tell. As of now, only one.
I must admit, I did have a little scare this morning, and it's not the PlayStation's fault. So I am on the old key and card pay-as-you-go electric and gas system for my house. And I was midway through playing Spider-Man this morning, and the electric ran out.
Oh no!
So yeah, cuts everything out. No backup, nothing. Everything just turns off. And I was like, oh fuck! Thinking I have just the PlayStation is not going to enjoy this one bit. I turned it back on though. It did the usual same thing that the PS4 does. We need to rebuild your database. Yeah, it tells you off. It does a little rebuild to make sure nothing's damaged. It rebuilt everything, and it was right as rain, not a problem, no issues. I was just shitting it for those few seconds though.
All your issues are user error then.
Yeah,
dumbass user error, as opposed to Sony's fucked up on their end.
Yeah, all of my issues so far have been down to me being a bellend.
Yeah, understandable, but yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of our news stories this week are actually linked to the console launch, because there's not been much else going on in the games world. No one's going to be releasing or announcing new stuff when you've got consoles being launched. That would be madness. So our first story, and I threw this one in there because I think it's a fucking joke and it's ridiculous, and it's from The Verge, and this is Microsoft urges, please do not blow vape smoke into your Xbox Series X. Apparently, people need to be told not to do this shit. So essentially, what this boils down to is that people who thought that they were, whether they did it because they thought they were funny, whether they were doing it for the likes because that's what people care about now, they were blowing vape smoke into the bottom of their Xbox Series X, and because of the way it pushes the air out the top, it was making it look like it was on fire because all the vape smoke was coming out of the top of the Xbox. They were then filming this and putting this on Twitter and being like, "Oh, my Xbox is overheated," for the likes and for the views. And it turns out they weren't overheated; just people were just being fucking dumb.
At least they now smell of apple and pineapple or whatever shit they're smoking in the vape.
I mean, that is true, but I can't believe we're in an age where social media is so important to people that a company has to come out and be like, please don't blow shit into your £450 or dollar console.
Yeah,
you will fucking break it.
We should know this by now. You know, we saw people eating Tide Pods, for example, and they had to say, don't eat Tide Pods. You know, that we should be used to it. We should be used to I mean, I'm surprised that's the dumbest thing that someone has done so far.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, there is that. But yeah, that was just a quick little news story. There was something I just wanted to throw in there because it's fucking dumb. Mike, have you got anything you want to add on how dumb that is?
I mean, they're just doing it for the likes, aren't they? For the drama.
It's all for the likes.
Yeah, it's just a meme. So
All for the gram.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to cover the next two stories then?
Yeah. So the next one is just around the sort of the Series X and S. I think if you're looking at getting one, you're gonna have to wait. I think by the looks of it, we're gonna have stock shortages potentially into spring next year. I don't understand where this has necessarily come from. So the financial officer has sort of come out and said that it's going to be tough. They are going to be producing this. There's probably supply chain constraints in there as well, given COVID. But I don't know if it's been triggered by higher sales ahead of now.
They have said this is their best ever console launch to date. So that probably has some level of factor into it.
Well, it's quite interesting that they almost didn't bet on themselves, or they bet on themselves but not big enough. It's nice to see. In all honesty, obviously, we talk a lot about PlayStation naturally because we are within the PlayStation environment. So we often see we never see the Xbox side, and it's a positive. It's bad if you want one, but it's positive to see that they have potentially done better than expected. People are buying it as a start.
Yeah. So, Mike, as someone who hasn't got a current or new gen console, should we call it? If you were to now be told that you couldn't get a PS5 or an Xbox, whichever one it is you wanted, until potentially April of next year, is that an issue? Do you think that's an issue for people?
I think everyone's wanting one at the minute, especially like you look on Twitter or Facebook, whatever. Everyone's playing them. So I think that element of it makes me want one more than, just actually having one or playing the games or anything.
The FOMO.
Yeah, exactly, the FOMO. But yeah, I'm kind of okay with waiting. Like it doesn't really bother me. I've got a huge back catalogue to go through, which it seems to be never ending. So I'm probably going to delve into that before I pick up a new console, or try to anyway.
On the note of the FOMO, I was suffering from FOMO on the day that the PlayStation came out because Max and Ryan both got theirs early in the morning, or well, Ryan was like midday and mine didn't come till like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they were showing pictures of theirs all set up, ready to go. And even though I knew mine was coming, I was looking at the Amazon tracking app like, I know it's coming today. I was getting FOMO that mine wasn't here already. It was very frustrating. But back to the point of the article, I think this is, and Ryan, you've having worked previously in supply chains, you might be able to sort of wage in on this. This, to me, is one of probably the biggest risks of running a console launch in November when you've got Christmas around the corner and you're not potentially going to have enough supply for the Christmas sale period.
I mean, definitely. I mean, they, as I said, they've come out and said they're still producing it. There will still be stuff available. This article is talking mainly about sort of decent availability. It's not that they're going to be completely out of stock everywhere. It's just going to be tough to get. I think the expectation is going into Christmas, and to manage people's expectations. If you haven't got it already, if your parents are going to get it for you, it's probably very unlikely that if they haven't got it, you're going to get it before Christmas. I think at this rate, you'll be fighting a.
You're not going to be able to like walk into Tesco and just grab one off the shelf and then.
Exactly. So I think that's where sort of it's almost that they are prepping now for next Christmas, and it's interesting because for Xbox actually they probably have a bit of a grace period in the fact that they aren't in a way relying upon all of their exclusives, so there's not a limited amount of people that can't play these exclusives because they haven't got the console. They can play it elsewhere. I think it'd be worse for PlayStation if they're bringing out sort of PS5 exclusives that they can't then play it and they have to just wait until it's produced. If you've got a PC, if you've got an Xbox One, you can still play everything. To your point, Mike, you've got a back catalogue. Also, the change isn't that big. So does it really matter if you have to wait? Like Infinite might come out next year by that time as well, like by Q2. So it might work well for them.
And like you say, again, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, but you look at Miles Morales, it's set at Christmas. It's like the perfect Christmas launch title. Definitely. It's the perfect game to pick up at Christmas because it's the entirety of the game is set essentially at Christmas.
At Christmas, yeah.
So it fits in perfectly, and then to have to wait on that and potentially wait a few months before to buy your kid a PlayStation and Spider-Man. I know you can get it on PS4, but if you're new to the PlayStation ecosystem, then it would be a little bit more of a bigger hit for them than it would be, like you say, for Xbox, who with Game Pass, you're pretty much set wherever you are, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a major loss. It's not ideal, but I think we always expected this. And obviously we haven't discussed like COVID, but COVID was always going to make this challenging anyway. Like supply chains will be a lot harder to sort of run, especially in the UK with Brexit coming up. Not to discuss that horrible, horrible word, but 2021, when these things become available, we're going to be an independent nation of greatness, apparently. So some would have you believe.
But
with
let's
no
not
supply chain for Xbox.
Let's not get into politics though. Let's move on to the next article.
That's onto our other podcast later on.
When Mike's passed out.
Triple XP After Dark.
Exactly.
Discussing all things politics.
The P stands for politics, don't you know? The next one is so. Obviously, we're big fans of Game Pass here. We speak about Game Pass a lot, even though none of us really actually engage with Game Pass that often. We all have it, I think, to some degree. We can all play it, we can all use it. We just don't. But we love it. We love the concept.
I don't even think. I was going to say this. I don't think I'm a fan of Game Pass. I'm a fan of the concept of Game Pass, but actually, the selection of games on there is pretty naff.
But we always come back to it in more of a positive light than negative light.
100%.
It's the stream. It's the Netflix of games. That's what we talk about.
I've always said that Game Pass is like an all-you-can-eat buffet of like 6 out of 10 games. There's nothing on there that's like amazing.
But it's the perfect thing to have over lockdown, for example.
Yeah.
At a time when people have so much more time on their hands, and they should be doing something productive, and instead they're playing Sea of Thieves. So. It's that, but obviously, as fans of Game Pass and the concept as well, Jim Ryan has said that they, is the CEO of Sony Interactive, has come out and said there's news to come on the response, sort of Sony's response to Game Pass. Now, this is interesting actually because he's obviously acknowledged that PlayStation Now exists, and it has existed for a while, but it never really has picked up that traction. And it's never been as popular, as it were, as Game Pass. So the fact that there's news to come, either to me says they are going to completely change now, or there is something just completely new coming, which is going to either run in tangent with now, or just going to completely just stomp on now. So what that's going to be, I don't know, but I'm quite curious to see what it's like and what it involves.
I feel like that's going to be an overhaul for now, into more in line with Game Pass. I mean, it has to be, because that's Xbox's like biggest selling point is their Game Pass, and if PlayStation just copy it, then what have Xbox got in terms of like that? If they undercut it or whatever price, but
I also don't think that Sony will just straight out copy Game Pass though, because they've always said that the Game Pass model isn't financially viable long term. Well, and it's something we've all discussed, is that long term, can Microsoft maintain putting that money into Game Pass? And yes, they are getting money back, but are they getting enough to pay for these games that they're also making? And Sony have said quite that it's not a viable financial option. So it'd be interesting to see, like I say, is this going to be a change to now? Is it going to be a change to PlayStation Plus? Are we going to see an upgrade to PlayStation Plus, and that's going to become better and more Game Passy?
It's potentially an amalgamation of the two.
I mean, we've discussed before the PlayStation Plus collection. Is that going to be an ever-changing list of games? Is it going to stay static, or is it going to be a case of, well, we're saying these games for the next however many months are the key PlayStation titles to start us off, but actually we're going to drop off 5 and replace them with a different 5, and that's going to happen every so often?
Yeah.
I could also see it being a subscription service for their exclusives, because they've just ramped up the price to like $70 or whatever it is now. Or so £70 for us, isn't it? So it's like
£70,
more than that for America. But so a subscription service that's $7.99 a month, something like that, and you can play all of the exclusives you want that come out day one. I could see that as maybe a viable option, but then they're kind of underselling their own games, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd be interested. I wonder if they would look at bundling in things like EA Play into PlayStation Plus, so it's not two separate subscriptions. There's the Ubisoft version of EA Play, which at the moment is PC only. Whether that's going to come to console at any point, again, and be bundled in with other stuff. It'd be interesting to see. There's a lot of speculation right now.
Yeah,
could be Game Pass.
A lot of options.
It could just be Microsoft's Game Pass on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I don't think it will be, but
I mean, it definitely won't be.
As a betting man, I'm probably against it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what comes of it anyway. And obviously, Sony would be remiss to not at least acknowledge Game Pass, because it's going to be, as you say, Mike, it's one of the things that draws in a lot of people, and especially with the S coming in. That is a Game Pass machine, effectively. I think we said about it before when it was. That is effectively designed for Game Pass. So strategically, if they wanted to really shaft Microsoft, if they can if they can hit and compete against Game Pass well, then I mean Sony are going to be in a great position.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. So our last story from the news this week then is that VRR support is coming to the PS5 in the future. So if you're not sure what VRR is, it's variable refresh rates. And this is something that the Xbox has and has always had, since, not as in the old ones, but the new gen Xbox have had all along. And this is something that PlayStation have not been attacked for, but it has been commented on why they don't have it from the outset. So just to cover what variable refresh rate is, just in case you're unsure, it's a feature that allows compatible televisions to adjust their refresh rate based on the output of the game, meaning that stutters typically associated with frame rate fluctuations are mostly and largely eliminated. So this is something that Xbox has, but PlayStation currently doesn't, but they have stated that it is going to come in a future firmware update, along with the SSD upgrades, which is coming in a future firmware update. There was something else that's coming. There's a lot of stuff basically coming in a future firmware update that's just not there yet. But then this is, if you look back across at least the last two consoles from Sony, this is what they do, isn't it? They released the PS3, and granted the PS3 had a shit release, but a lot of the stuff that they said was going to come initially didn't come initially, and then over the next 6 to 12 months was added in. And it was the same with the PS4. A lot of the stuff they were like, yeah, you'll be able to do X, Y, Z, didn't come straight away, and then within the 6 to 12 month first year there was loads of firmware updates, and all of a sudden all the stuff that was meant to be in it, that they showed off that would or could be in it, was then eventually in it. So it's just the way that Sony have always worked, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I love video games. I'm not very techie. Like, so when you tell me that my screen is like stuttering, I probably one haven't noticed, and two don't really care. I think there's a contingent of people that I think are very, very much about like the frame precision, like the experience that you get. I'm just here to have a good time.
But this was the big argument with 1440.
Yes.
There's a big argument that people are like, oh yeah, but like 1440 isn't on the PS5, but it is on the Xbox, and everyone's like, well, you would only see the difference if you were plugging your PS5 into a monitor anyway, which most people aren't doing. And Sony have even come out and said, well, we've not put it in there because the bulk of our purchasers are going to be playing it on a TV, which won't have the 1440 support required for the 1440. So it's a pointless feature for them to include. Granted, people that want to run it through monitors because they're streaming, it's going to be good for them, but that's not what they're not building a console for streamers.
No.
They're building an overarching console that anyone can play on their TV, because that's generally where consoles get played. Because if you're playing it on your monitor, you're probably playing PC anyway.
Yep. Which is why these things aren't needed day one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's only just guessing a figure, but it's a small percentage of people that like.
It's one of Mike's stats. There's only 15% of people.
Yeah, I want an actual figure. Yeah, I want an actual Mike figure.
I'm going to say 6% of people.
That high?
That have a console that care about this.
Okay, I'll hold you to that.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Mike stats.
Mathematical Mike stats. 6% of people who own a console play it through monitor.
The thing is, if that stat is actually correct, we'll never hear the end of it.
I mean, the other thing is, no one has. I don't know if there is any figures out there to dispute this fact right now.
Any of the listeners that can challenge
if
or
you are one of the
6%, yeah, please give us a call.
If anything that was discussed during this podcast has affected you, please call this number.
Are we going to get marked up on Twitter to say that some of these haven't been fact checked? Thanks, Mike.
I mean, we do have a tweet that has got this claim is disputed, because Mike specifically wanted that to come up, so he put a tweet out just to get disputed.
I invented podcast, we invented podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that's it for the news. So as I say, it's very much all new gen related. There's not much else going on right now. So let's move on to more new gen conversations with our what we've been playing. So as always, we will start with yourself, Ryan. You've got the big one as well, the Spider-Man.
Yes.
First impression / review, because you actually completed it now. So
finished it this morning. Yeah.
Spoiler free though, remember.
Spoiler free, yes. I haven't had a chance to plat it yet. A good thing about the PlayStation 5 is it makes it very easy to track your achievements. So I have a very clear aim as to how I can plat it. I can do it all on a New Game Plus run. Overall, absolutely loved it. For those of you who don't know, I'm a massive Spider-Man fan. So this was probably the most anticipated game of this year. And I wasn't disappointed at all. I had a complete joy playing through the entire game from start to finish. Much like the first Spider-Man, surprisingly emotional. especially towards the end. There's a lot of moments that definitely made my my tear ducts work. They got reasonably lubricated, if you excuse the expression. And yeah, I absolutely loved it.
It's okay to
we
say
still
you
talk about
cry,
games.
man.
I would never admit that.
Sounds like
It
a
lubricated
robot. Like,
it lubricated my tear ducts. It didn't make me cry. There's a difference. No, I loved it. I think it built on everything that came in the first game. It tightened it up. The new Venom powers are great fun. Honestly, it made me want Spider-Man 2 so much more. Not that I didn't want it in the first place, but now I have this empty hole, and I don't know when it's going to get filled.
it's just leaving you wanting more Spider-Man, which sounds perfect.
Which was never going to be in question anyway. But I think there was a lot of going into it. There was a lot of not worries, but it's going to be a shorter version. It's going to be a reskin. And I know a lot of people have been saying it's just a reskin of the first game. I disagree. I mean, it's set in the same city, but they've built it up again. It's full of life. You can see all of the people. You can see all of the cars. It feels like New York. It's snowy, which it's very difficult to reskin a city and cover it in snow. They've not just sprinkled it across. It's
No,
seasonal.
but there are elements to it that I can agree with what people are saying there, because, like, for example, the vehicle crimes play out pretty much identically to the way they did on the first one. There are elements of it that are clearly just almost copy and pastes.
I think the good thing
the space
is that in the crimes, in that respect, you're not as pressured into doing them. So, and that's where I think they've learned quite a lot. They aren't, when you do the districts, for example, you have sort of side quests in there. You have to do some crimes, but you can pick and choose which crimes they are when they come up. So you're not having to do the same crime over and over on different rooftops and different spaces. I think I've only done the car chases twice because
I've not done many of them.
But in terms of like completing it, I've 100%ed my first playthrough. So I think that it is, yes, there might be copy and paste, but I definitely think they've learned in terms of that balance. So I loved it. I can't really go into much more without it being spoiler territory.
Well, I'm about 40% in. Was my last check when I loaded it in, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think it's really, really well made. I was discussing this with Ryan yesterday. I actually think that with regards to character development, they've actually made Miles more relatable than Peter in this, because where we didn't have Peter starting off, he was already a fully fledged Spider-Man, and this is Miles very much becoming more into him as a Spider-Man. It feels so much more relatable. I think like Miles has been done so well that he's just really, really enjoyable to play as. He's really sincere, really down to earth, really compassionate, and genuinely just wants to do the best he possibly can. But because he's a kid, that he doesn't always know what the best is. Yeah. And we can all relate to that, of wanting to do the best but just not actually quite knowing what it is we're supposed to be doing that would be the best thing to do in that situation.
I mean, he's 17 and he makes mistakes. I mean, I'm 29 and I still make my fair share of mistakes. So it is very relatable.
Yeah, and I do think that they've nailed that. The storyline, from what I've seen so far, has been pretty good. Some little easily like expected moments.
Yeah, predictable.
That's the word I was looking for. Predictable. But then I found the first one to have its predictable moments as well, but it also had some good twists. So as long as there's some good twists in there as well, then that balances out nicely. As you say, with the way that they've changed the crimes like trackers, because they've got like an app. There's like an app in the game now that allows you to easily see like what side quests you've got to do. That plays out really well. And interestingly, on the note, because you were talking about side quests, I noticed when I was doing it this morning that they've developed off of the back of a lot of the side quests from the first game as well.
Yeah.
So, and this isn't really a spoiler, but for example, Howard and his pigeons, who features in the first game, features again in this one, and it almost carries on the story of those people you met in the first game, which is quite nice. It's a nice little touch.
And I think one of the things they've done well with that sort of stuff is that they have worked to make those developments unpredictable. So, for example, the Howard storyline, did you finish it?
No, I've not finished it yet.
So that it takes you into a different direction. So for those of you that have played it, and that, not to spoil it, Howard has pigeons. In the first game, you had to go around and gather all of his pigeons, and it was a real pain in the arse.
I mean, it's still a pain in the arse in this one as well.
But in this one, you have, there's a bit of humour, a bit of Peter Parker humour where he sort of chimes in about it all through a recording. But it doesn't. The quest itself isn't actually about just the pigeons, and I think that's where they've then worked on building this to be a lot more sort of inclusive and sort of expansive. Can they both go together? Sort of, yeah. You know, and make it feel a little bit more. You know, you aren't just doing the grind of each side mission that's the exact same over and over again.
So before you get onto the issues you have had with Spider-Man, there's the only other thing that I've noticed, and again, it's something that me and you have discussed already, outside of this episode, is that, and when you finally get to have a pop at this, Mike, I think you'll agree with this comment, that it's going to be really, really interesting to see where they take number 2, because Miles Morales' powers, where he's got the Venom powers and he's got the invisibility, it just adds so much more dynamic and so much more range to his combat and his abilities that it almost to me, it feels like if I was to go back to Peter Parker, who doesn't have those abilities, it's going to almost be like a downgrade.
Yeah,
because he feels so much more powerful and so much more sort of just impressive to play with.
Miles he has the natural abilities. So he has, as you said, he has the Venom, he has the invisibility, and then he has the sort of the swinging and the sort of the speed and agility that Peter Parker does. The thing that I have noticed is that obviously he has less gadgets. So it's almost like it's going to be that Peter Parker becomes the Batman-esque, where he will have a wider range of gadgets available to him to make up for that sort of deficit of other powers. But as it stands, if you put the two of them toe to toe as like characters, taking experience out of it, Miles would win on paper because of what he can do.
You've heard it here. Hot take. Miles is a better Spider-Man than Peter Parker.
Wow.
Which it pains me to say that because I've grown up with Peter Parker, but I absolutely love Miles. I absolutely adore Miles, and I actually have always preferred, from what I've seen anyway, I've always preferred Miles over Pete. And even when it comes to, like, you look at the films, Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man film. It just is. Yeah. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong. It just is the best, and his character in that is so well done. And it just makes me wonder: do you think that they could, in a second Spider-Man game, or even a third Spider-Man game, depending on what their setup is for the future of the series, do you think they would ever go down the Spider-Verse storyline? So, I mean, because we're going to open up a whole sort of Spider fanboy sort of moment in me.
Well, okay, keeping it keeping it in your trousers.
So the Peter Parker, in canon, the Peter Parker of the game has actually crossed into the Spider-Verse in the comics. So there's a book that's out about it, and then he also appeared in the comics. For like a few episodes, like for a few they go and get him and stuff. So technically, if you're going to take that as canon and lore, he has already gone into other dimensions with other Spider people.
The only reason I'm thinking that is because that if they were to bring in like Spider-Gwen and one of the other, like some of the other Spider-Men, it could help offset the abilities between the difference between Spider-Man and between Peter Parker and Miles. If you're playing as them both, like if the next game allows you to play as them both, but also brings in small playable moments as other Spider-Men, it could really offset the disparity in them. Also, I watched Into the Spider-Verse the other day, and I didn't realise that the game suit was in it
It's in there. I was about to say that. It's in the
until
back.
I saw it for that was like the third time I've seen it. It's the first time I've seen the game suit is in there.
Yeah, it's cool.
The only bit of footage that I've seen of Spider-Man is on Twitter from Suni Legend. He just posts like little gameplay snippets of like Spider-Man swinging through the sea and just the way he works the camera angles and stuff. Just makes them really like interesting to watch. But when I played like the original Spider-Man game on the PS4, I just had so much fun like just swinging around and that was like a huge part of it for me. It was just like it felt like you were Spider-Man.
Yeah,
And,
it does do that really well.
Very well.
But before we move on to the next game, though, there is some negative that you have.
There are some issues, and I don't know if these are. And this is where the crash of the PlayStation kind of is marring it a bit, because I don't know if it's a PlayStation unit issue or the game issue. But there were a couple of times where it just stopped. I could hear the audio. I could still use my PlayStation, but the game itself was dead. Now, the benefit of the SSD of the PlayStation is that I could close the game down and then reboot it and reload it and be in within 20 seconds. Which, beforehand it would have always been like, you have to go for the splash screen, you have to go for everything else. It's not a problem per se, but I have had crashes. I have had sort of bugs and that in it as well. But I can overlook that. I'm very biased in that respect. But it's interesting that I've had those and you haven't. I haven't
had a single one, bar like say one.
Which to me makes me think it's not an inherently buggy game.
Well, you say that, but if you look on Twitter at the moment, that is not the case. There is two major bugs that are happening at the moment. But bug number one is that it appears that the rest mode issue with the PS5 is inherently linked to the Spider-Man remaster.
Yeah,
and I
haven't installed it. I'm not taking that risk at the moment.
So, Mike, for your understanding, the Spider-Man remaster, it appears that anyone who had installed that and then put the game in rest mode while the Spider-Man remaster was in its rest mode state, it would brick their entire PS5. Wow. Basically, it would cause it to do a data rebuild, and then when it tried to do a data rebuild, it would just break the console.
Oh my god!
And they've come out and said that they know there is a known issue with Spider-Man fucking up PS5s. The second issue is, and I've seen a lot of these on Twitter and they are absolutely hilarious, is the Spider-Man becomes an inanimate object.
Oh, I've seen that, yeah. So he's like swinging around as like a trash can.
A bin.
Yeah,
just like out of nowhere, Spider-Man just transforms into an inanimate object. No one knows what's causing it or why, but there's just like a brick flying through the sky just firing webs out, or like a bin flying through the sky firing webs out, and it doesn't make any sense.
I am genuinely disappointed I haven't had that bug. I mean, of all bugs that you can have, I would absolutely love that.
Just to be a brick. Just a floating brick.
God.
It's the best. It's the crossover we all didn't know we needed.
with Wilkinson's or IKEA.
Spider-Man X prop hunt.
So Ryan, just before we move away from you, then you've got one last little announcement you wanted to make, haven't you?
I mean, I feel like you're pushing this one because of what else I've put next to the tag. So I've always struggled with motivating myself to play Bloodborne. And Shane threw down the gauntlet recently and said, I completed Bloodborne and I did the last two bosses first try. And he's lorded it over us for a while. And I thought, well, do you know what? Sod you, Shane. I'm going to go through this and play it. And I streamed it all. And I finished it. I was actually very proud of myself.
And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you very much. I learned a lot going through it. I know that I picked a really shitty weapon at the start. And I've been berated for that. The cane, yeah. And the whip. I also didn't realise you could sprint until at least a solid 10 hours into the game, which very much helped with ROM. But I unfortunately wasn't able to finish the last two bosses first try. I did them pretty quickly, but not first try, which means I will come out on podcast and say it. I am officially worse at Bloodborne and Shane. And
Yes.
hopefully now, by leaning into it and embracing it, he can just shut up about it.
I will continue to lord. No, because now I'm going to do Demon Souls and lord that over you instead.
You don't.
And I'm actually really enjoying it and actually getting into it. So
I hope you're bricks.
I mean, that's a harsh thing to say.
No,
It's actually taken my breath away.
I wish you well on Demon Souls. I probably will take you up on that in a couple of years' time once I've gotten over Bloodborne. So yeah, obviously I've played other bits and pieces like Hades and Divinity, but we'll touch upon them in later points. I know you're going to probably cover Divinity in a bit, but yeah, Bloodborne,
Yes.
major success. Miles, great game. If you've got a PS5, you should definitely pick it up.
Yeah, will do.
Mike, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I've been playing just COD, just Call of Duty Cold War, the game that I said I would never fucking buy. Well, guess
If
what?
you did,
Got me again. Did it
How long
guess
did
again.
it
what?
take you?
Everyone fucking knew it.
How long did it take you to give in?
It was either
The day Ellie bought it.
the day of or the day after release. Well, we game share,
Didn't-
so Ellie's like big into COD. It's the one game she buys every year. So yeah, we got it, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I mean, I'm having a bad time, but I'm having a good time.
But now,
Yeah. No, I hate it, but I'm still playing it. Like, I don't know what it is that COD does. They've got this weird hold over me somehow, where I'm just perpetually buying the exact same game, and it's just year in year out, it's the same.
I'll be interested if, come January, our first episode in January, one of my questions to you would be, have you uninstalled COD yet? And I'll be interested in that point as to whether it is now uninstalled.
I mean, it's already on the list because of how fucking ridiculously large the install is.
The worst.
It's 100 gig, which is just fucking obnoxious. I
It
know
is.
there's
It actually is.
essentially it's like 3 separate games because you've got well, no, it's 4 now. So you've got your campaign story, which I've had issues with, like literally a console bricking, not bricking, but I had to like hard
Crashing.
reset, unplug it,
Brilliant.
because of this glitch in the campaign on the there's a mission called Fractured Jaw, or Operation Fractured Jaw, or something like that, where it'll desync your controller. The game will just carry on. You won't be able to like use your controller whatsoever. It just kind of bricks it into whatever movement you're doing at the time. To the point where you can't access any menus. You can't put another controller in.
That's horrific.
I just literally had to like unplug my console to like get it to work again. Yeah, so that pissed me off. So there is a workaround where you have to essentially just unlink your Bluetooth, so you have to just have a wired controller.
That's annoying.
Which isn't too bad because I tend to have it wired most of the time anyway, because of the battery life on there. The PlayStation's just garbage. But the multiplayer is really good. I played a lot of that. I mean, it's more of the same. There are a lot of kind of shitty maps. I say a lot. There's not many maps. I think there's about 6 in total, which isn't a lot. Hopefully they bring more out soon. There's kind of a small nuke towny one, which is just endless death, respawn, maybe get a kill.
Sounds like my nightmare.
Yeah, it's more of the same on
Sounds
the
like
multiplayer side.
Yeah.
Sounds like COD.
Yeah, it's exactly that. You're just running around like a headless chicken, hoping to get like, 2 or 3 kills in a row. I've been playing a lot with Breadstick as well, and he's obviously getting 60 kills a game.
Obviously.
Yeah, just absolute beast in it. It's disgusting.
And you're somehow managing negatives.
yeah. Yeah. Somehow we still lose, even though. But yeah, I've been enjoying it, but it's been giving me a hard time. So I'm just trying to. Well, I think what it is, the key for me, and this is kind of touching on the addiction into gaming thing that we're talking about later, is that it has a lot of unlocks. Like for the guns, there's like each gun has like about 30 different unlocks, attachments and stuff, and that just kind of that little gameplay loop of get a few more kills with this and I'll unlock another attachment, and then it just keeps me coming back over and over again.
So, question:
Mhm.
Is it better than the last one, whatever that was called, Modern Warfare? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, which is not confusing
It
the
is.
title at all.
No, but because obviously that was like taking COD back to what everyone wanted it to be, and you're saying it's better than that one.
I mean, I've yet. My favourite part of Modern Warfare was the campaign. The campaign was really good, so I've yet to finish the campaign on COD because I've been just playing so much in the multiplayer. But yeah, it's weird to say it's better. It probably is because it has a new game mode that I've been enjoying a lot. That's halfway between a battle royale and like a bomb site thing. It's called Dirty Bomb. So you'll have a squad of 4 people facing off against other squads of 4 people on a large scale map. So you'll parachute in, and there's bomb sites on the map, and you'll get kills and unlock chests and collect uranium. I think it is. We were calling it raritanium at one point, and Ellie called it Ukrainium, which I don't know where that came from. But yeah, you just collect that and then take it to the bomb site, and then once the bomb is like full of uranium, Ukrainium, raritanium, whatever you want to call it, you can detonate the bomb. You have to hold X or square or whatever it is for a certain amount of seconds, but you'll have other teams as well that you'll have to like defend on. So
Right.
it just leads to these like really tense battles and stuff, like both close quarters and long range. And you'll be running through trees and you'll see another squad, and then you'll like have a little mini battle with them. It's really good. It's really like a refreshing game mode, I think. What else was there? There's the zombies.
I wish you
as well,
hadn't
actually.
have said that because I've been resisting COD for a while, and that sounds really good.
Well, and
It's
you
good
can't
enough.
afford it.
I know I can't afford
Just
it.
accept you can't afford it, and then
Doesn't
you don't
mean
need
that.
it.
It doesn't mean that the temptation isn't there. You spoke about FOMO earlier on. I'm now getting COD FOMO.
Yeah, but you can fight it by the fact that you physically can't afford it.
I could
It's worth the
sell
rent.
some stuff.
It's worth the
I
rent.
could sell some stuff.
You can sell your kidney, maybe.
No one wants that. Not in the state that's in.
This is
But
what
anyway,
COD does.
yes, Mike.
This is what COD does to people,
It does.
making them sell the kidneys and shit.
But yeah, sorry, you were about to talk about zombies.
Yeah, the zombies mode's really good as well. And your weapon progress in zombies in all of the game modes all carries over to the multiplayer as well. So you're constantly getting those unlocks, which I think is
Nice.
what's keeping me playing. Because I love, getting a new attachment to a gun and then trying it out it's good. It's good. But yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised again by COD, and
now.
it is worth. I mean, for us, it's worth buying because we paid like £65, got the upgradable version for PS5. So me and Ellie like sit and play that of an evening now for most evenings. Yeah, we'll put the kids to bed. Have tea, and sit down and be like, give her that look, and be like, Call of Duty. Yep, Call of Duty. So I still play that until.
I just look forward to a month's time when you're telling me that it's dog shit and you hate it.
Yeah, it will. It will happen. It will happen.
I mean, I think you should ask that question every week because
Every
I think
week.
that
Is it dog shit yet?
I
Is it
think
dog
that a
shit yet?
month is far too long.
Yeah,
A
that
lot
is-
can happen in a month. I think it's a weekly thing. Are you fed up of it yet? Is it uninstalled?
It just takes one bad game and it's uninstalled forever.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, that was me. This week. I've not had. I've just been hooked on COD, so I've not played anything else.
Wonderful.
Yeah, what are you saying?
So I, like Ryan, obviously picked up a PS5, and I've been dabbling in the different PS5 games. I've played a bit. I played a bit of Demon Souls. Played a bit of Valhalla. I'm going to save Demon Souls for next week, and I want to talk about Valhalla today, or at least my first impressions of it. But before I do that, we need the Divinity update. So before the PS5 came out, we did get a little bit of Divinity playing. We didn't achieve much, is all I can say. We essentially realised that we were in a much higher level area than we should be. We got into a fight that set literally everything on fire. And I'm not talking about like just the bit around us. The entire map, within a good like 5 to 10 metres away from our character in every direction, was on fire. And it was all cursed fire, so we couldn't even put the bloody stuff out with ease.
Amazing.
It was just everywhere was fire.
Disaster. Yeah.
So we died. We thought we'll retry it, but this time I thought I'll take all my fire magic off and just put all water magic on, because that way I can try and put the fire out before it becomes cursed fire. That didn't work. It still became cursed fire because we couldn't figure out what was causing it. We eventually did. There's a certain type of enemy that when they die, if they die in fire, it turns it to cursed fire. So, and because this type of enemy was weak against fire, it was literally just running into the fire, dying and turning it into cursed fire, which was really annoying. So we did that like 2 or 3 times before realising we are 100% underleveled and we should not be doing this. So we left that area and have now gone back to an earlier area on the map to try and do some bits to not be on fire, basically. That is essentially the update.
The last couple of Divinity runs have been us getting in over our heads and reloading a save and just trying again.
It's a lot of trial and error at the moment, a lot of learning and a lot of trial and error, because I think we stumbled our way through the first map.
Very
and
much so.
Now we're very much learning, we actually need to know stuff. Like, we need to actually think about our moves, because it has some really big effects on the battle.
Yeah. You can't
So
just set everything on fire anymore.
No, we can't just set everything on fire anymore, especially when our characters are weak to fire. So I don't know why we were doing that to start with.
Yeah, I mean, generally, yeah, as you say, we've modelled through, but I think I think I might have said one of the weeks before when we were trying to play it, you can never have too much fire. I retract that statement because that was too much fire.
We're at a point now where what we're trying to do is actually put down rain spells consistently, so there's water everywhere, so that things can't set on fire. We're trying to minimise the fire.
It still goes on fire.
So yeah, that's Divinity this week. Hopefully, in the coming weeks, we'll have a better, more exciting update. But anyway, on to Valhalla. So I purchased the PS5 specific version of Valhalla. I didn't see the need to get a PS4 upgrade because I'm only ever going to play it on the PS5. I've not played a huge amount, maybe about 2 to 3 hours. So it's essentially my first impressions. I will cover a more in-depth review in a later episode once I've had a chance to play through a lot more of it. Essentially, so far, it's very good. But my initial statement is very good. It's very well built. There's some really interesting elements to the story very early on. So for those that are Assassin's Creed fans and that have played, not necessarily all of them, but have played enough to understand the general lore behind it all and what's happening, the stuff that's going on with the Animus this time is all very interesting. That whole like present day sci-fi-esque storyline that's all intertwined in the background comes into play very early on and in a really interesting way. So it's really interesting to see where they're taking that storyline and how it's linking in with, because there was a point where it felt like they had basically just cut off one storyline and gone, wow, we're done with that, we're just moving on to something else. But it's very much, from what I've seen, is it looks like it's actually linking all of the previous Assassin's Creeds together now, and not retconning, but just fixing the timelines of that sci-fi element to make it all work. And so there's references to characters from like back in the first couple of Assassin's Creed. There's references to things that happened previously that we haven't seen for quite a while in the AC games, because that sci-fi story kind of fell to the wayside a little bit. So that's really interesting. The main sort of Viking side of things. So you start off again. This is spoiler free, but you start off in Norway. That's not a spoiler. It's the opening. You start off in Norway. You get to sort of play out some little bits in Norway. So the like starter of the game is a couple of hours before you even get the title screen come up, and everything pre-title screen is set in Norway. So you go about doing some Viking things in Norway. You get an opportunity to test out a lot of different weapons. So I mostly ran shield and axe, which I found to be the best combination for me. I think I'm actually currently trialing double axe. I did trial a flail in one hand at one point and an axe, and I fucking hated it, and I'm never doing that again because the flail is dog shit. But the shield just offers so much versatility, mainly not getting hit in the fucking face by an axe. that's the main piece of versatility that shield offers. It's the controls are almost very much like Demon Souls, actually, in that L1 is your left arm, R1 is your right arm. So if you've got a shield on your left, you can use L1 to pull up your shield or attack with it. If you've got an axe in your right, you press R1 to attack with your right. R2 will then be your heavy attack. But you can only do a heavy attack with your right arm, not your left. And L2 is your bow ranged attack. And then you can also, as you unlock abilities, you can L2 and R2, if you hold them down, you get access to like special abilities that you can then use other buttons for, as in like X, triangle, circle, and square. So the combat's actually really, really enjoyable. I've not found much in the way of glitches or anything like that. Yes, it's not the smoothest, most perfect combat you've ever seen. It's a Ubisoft game. If you're expecting it to be, you're an idiot. It's Ubisoft. Like it's not going to be the best looking combat in the world. It looks fine. It plays really, really well. It's fun. Yes, sometimes you swing your axe and you hit them in a way that's like, that's not humanly possible. I don't give a fuck. I hit them, and that's what matters.
In terms of the combat, are they still like spongy health bar? Like,
so
you're not actually assassin because you don't actually assassinate them. You just kind of damage their health bar, even though you snuck up and like stab them in the neck or whatever.
Yes and no. So yes, it is like the last two in that they've now got health bars. It's got that RPG element to it. So there are certain enemies that you can't one kill with the hidden blade. But there is also there is more enemies than isn't. At least what I've experienced so far. Most of the enemies I've come across, I can one hit kill with the hidden blade. It's only if they've got some sort of specific armor or if they're like a boss that you can't. Interestingly, though, with the bosses, is they actually feel a lot more sort of Bloodborne and Demon Soulsy than what previous Assassin's Creed have given us. And what I mean by that is they're not like brutal Demon Souls-esque where you lose everything and the game just tells you to get fucked. It's so I went into one of the boss battles and he has a fucking huge health bar, and I must have hit him anywhere between 30 and 50 times by the time the battle was up. But he could hit me. If he was to hit me and get a clean hit in without me blocking or dodging, he could kill me in one hit or two hits at least. So that's what I mean by it's got that sort of Demon Souls, Bloodborne. You've got to time your hits. You've got to parry a lot. You've got to dodge. You've got to be a lot more defensive, and you can't just run in and just hammer away at your axe and hope for the best because you will just get killed. As I found, I've probably died like 3 or 4 times from being stupid and just running in with my axe thinking I'm the king of the world. I'm the Viking of the world, swinging in, just getting speared in the face.
I always found that with when I played Odyssey, that there was like legendary animal hunts that you went on, and one of them was like a like the Kefalonian boar or something. That just
Was that the
just
one that
ruined my game.
constantly surrounded by poison?
No, it's just literally just a giant boar,
Or
and then it has like little boar buddies that come along halfway through the map, halfway through the match, the
I
fight.
thought you said bear. I was about to say, is that the
No,
same bear
boar,
that
yeah, boar.
that did Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant?
getting around.
Yeah, I mean, I found that, and it seems to have they've leaned a little bit more into that, but it's not a bad thing. It works. It makes sense. It feels right. It stops you from being overly offensive, and you have to really think about what you're doing a lot more. The Interestingly, again, without spoiling anything, the way that they introduce the assassins, like the Creed, which is just referred to as the hidden ones, the way they introduce that's really interesting and quite smart. And I'll be interested to speak to you, Ryan, once you get to that point off of podcast, to see what your views are on that, because I think it's really clever the way they've done it. But yeah, overall, it plays really well. It looks stunning on the PS5, so it's got the full HDR effect and all the wonderful lighting and stuff and ray tracing that the PS5 brings. It looks stunning. You've got the boat sailing stuff come back, where you sail your longboat about and you can get them to sing songs, and it's like a in-boat radio, because you can be like, next song, and then your character like shouts at a crew, shut up, sing a different song, and they change song. Literally, this you just sit there pressing left, like next song. Or you can press R1 and tell them to stop singing and ask one of them to tell you a story, which is quite cool. So you can just be like, bin off the songs, tell me a story of one of the great Viking battles you were involved in, and then one of the crew member will just tell you a story.
Very God of War.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I enjoyed that feature. There's now raids, so you take your longbow out and you find settlements belonging to the enemy, and you basically literally just, as you sail towards it, you scream raid, you press the raid button, and your boat is very quickly launched towards the beach, in which case you will then jump off the boat and murder everyone. That is essentially what a raid is. It might be some extra things where you can set fire to shit, but generally it's just murder everyone.
I mean, my first question for you, Shane, is this was the thing that went in and you were most excited about in Assassin's Creed. Have you used 2 shields as weapons yet?
Not yet, because I've not got 2 shields yet.
Right,
so far.
okay.
Because they did say previously, and you having played AC Odyssey, you'll be able to comment on this one, that Odyssey and Origins were overinflated with the amount of weapons and items you got.
100%. Like, yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Not too
I've
much.
been playing for 2.5 hours, I think, and I've so far all I've unlocked is 2 axes, a flail, a single shield, and a 2-handed axe, and that is it. And armor, I haven't found a single piece of secondary armor yet. I've only got the armor that I start, like the first armor you get. Haven't found anything else as of yet. So weapons and armor wise, like I haven't received a lot. So I haven't got the ability to go dual shield yet. But then I haven't left for England yet. So I've literally just got to the point where my character leaves for England, and obviously that starting area, they're limiting you on purpose, because that's not where the game's taking place. The game's taking place in England, and that's just a precursor, if you want, training area to the rest of the game. But even in that area, it's quite big. There's a lot of stuff to explore. There's the way they've done the exploration is quite cool. The way they've brought back like your hoods and stuff is really good. The only thing I don't like is the raven, the bird. I think it's a waste of my time, and also I think it flies like it's honestly like flying a fucking tank. Just for a very small bird, it has the turning circle of honestly a tank. It's ridiculous. But you can't. So all you can do now with the bird is place markers or fly around and look at where like say entrances to caves. You can spot where they are, for example. and it will come up on your map, but it doesn't mark them for your character. You also can't mark enemies anymore with the bird. So to me, the birds become... I know there's like unlocks you can get further down the line for the birds, so it might be you unlock them, but at the moment, the bird feels redundant. It feels like it's an unnecessary feature for me, because if I can't mark enemies and I can't mark where shit is, what am I doing with it? I'm just flying around looking at shit.
It's interesting because I saw people complaining about the bird as well. And I was like, what could possibly be wrong about this bird? And you've answered my question, so yeah.
Essentially they've removed a lot of the bird features. So it's such a weird sentence to say about a game. All of the bird features are gone.
I love that bird, and they've taken it away.
I love a game with bird features.
So many bird features. It just feels redundant because, like I say, one of the things in the and I know from you could do this in Odyssey, is you could sit outside a base, get your bird to fly over, spot every single enemy and know where all of them are, and then you could go in and slowly stealth your way through. Whereas they want to make the stealth, at least from what I've seen, they want to make you more involved in the stealth yourself and not just using a bird. Yeah. So the bird, you can use the bird to fly over, but you're going to have to memorize where enemies are and actually look at where enemies are and think about your movements still, as opposed to just going, I know where everyone is. This is a piece of piss now. I think...
Quite good, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think that pretty much covers my views on it so far. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm enjoying it. The storyline seems pretty decent. I've had a comical side quest, which I can't go into why it was comical, but it was. I'll explain after this. But yeah, on the whole, it's ticking all the right boxes and it's doing well. So we will see as the game gets, because obviously it's a big game, as it goes on, whether it gets glitchier, whether it gets more issues, and whether it manages to maintain momentum. But that's me. And this next week I'll talk about Demon Souls. Once I've had a better dabble in that.
Nice.
Any questions? Anything you want to ask before we move on?
No, I think
anything you want to speak about?
Features, mate.
All about the bird features.
All bird features.
All them bird features. So just before we do move on, just before we move on to our random discussion, as part of what we've been playing this week, me and Ryan made a very obvious choice to spend some time playing with the PlayStation features. And for all of our listeners that haven't had a chance to pick up a PS5 or haven't been able to see or play a PS5 in person, there's some changes in the PS5 that were not spoken about, which I really, really think they should have spoken about more, or they were spoken about, just not enough. So firstly is the share screen, picture-in-picture.
So good.
It is incredible.
So good.
Not only is the quality like perfect, there is no lag, to the point that I was playing Rainbow and I was counting down to the 0 and it was hitting 0 on their screen at the same time as mine, so there was no like lag difference.
Because that was something we talked about, wasn't it? Playing it in games like Rainbow.
Yeah, so we didn't test it on rank, to be fair. I only tested it on quick play because I couldn't be bothered to play a game of rank because it was like 2 a.m. and I was tired. So they could have blocked it there. But what's interesting is, so you can go. So it was me, Max, and Ryan in a party together. So you can go into a party with a bunch of your friends. All of you can turn on your share play. All of you can have a share, not share play, your share screen. All of you can have a share screen open. So I was watching Ryan was watching Max, and Max was watching me.
Oh wow!
But at the press of a single button, I could press a button and it would bring up a little bar at the top of my share screen, and then I could swap from Ryan's to Max's instantly.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Which is honestly
very little like buffering involved as well.
It was literally instant. It was really, really impressive tech, and the way they've done it, the way you can move it around the screen, you can have it pinned to the side. You can change the volume coming from the share play, because obviously you're still playing your game as well. So I'm playing Spider-Man while watching Ryan play Spider-Man. But what I could do is if he wants to show me something, or if he's stuck on something and he wants help, I can literally turn the volume to his game right up, and it actually then overpowers the volume to my game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just really mad stuff. But that's not even the maddest part. that was like, wow, that's impressive. But they told us about that shit. So what they didn't tell us about is the change to share play. So that share screen, share play, they've slightly changed in that it is now what it's called. It is share play. So what the difference between that and share screen is, you can invite someone. So me and Max did it last night. So Max has got he has got a copy of Sackboy, which is a multiplayer game. So he was playing it on his own. He turned on share play. I joined, and what that did was actually brought me into his game as a playable character. It dropped my character into his game, and I was playing his game as if I was sitting on his sofa with him, but from my house.
And you don't
without
have the
me
game installed or anything?
I don't own the game at all.
That's crazy. Whoa.
Honestly, it literally turns.
Huge.
I mean, the one thing it did was, and it doesn't tell you if there's a limit or anything to it. So from what we could see, it could be in, like, you could play it definitely.
Yeah, it's mad. But, and then all it did on my screen.
Did you get trophies or anything like that?
No, so you don't get any. You don't get any trophies. The second player doesn't get any trophies, and the second player doesn't get any like achievements or level or anything. So everything that I've done in his game, for me, will just won't exist. If I was to go and buy the game now, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of multiplayer games where you'd like, I want to do a run through with a friend, where only one of you would have to purchase it. If you're not bothered about the trophies, if you just want to play the game. Like, it's just mad.
That opens up like so many possibilities for like gaming options and things. Because
think about all the shit games that me and you have wanted to play together.
Yeah.
Where one of us could literally just rent a shit game and share play it to the other one.
Yeah.
As long as we both got good internet, we could just play together and it won't be an issue. The issue we had was I did drop out because of, I think it was because of Max's internet. I'm not sure, because mine was running really high. And it has been running really high since I got the PS5. Like, the PS5 is doing some mad shit to my internet and I'm loving it. But
it's also draining your electricity by the sounds of it.
I know that happens anyway. Well, no, because I was telling Matt this morning. So my PS4, I've got 100 meg internet from Virgin. My PS4 runs anywhere between 75 and about 85, 90-ish. It never goes above that. Since plugging the PS5 in, and on Wi-Fi, it has not dropped below 105 meg once. So it's actually getting more. It's got better meg than what Virgin are saying they're supplying me. Obviously, they supply a little bit over anyway because they account for drop-off. But it's had like literally pure connection via wireless, which is mad. But yeah, it opens up so many possibilities to be able to play a game with a friend, with a family member. Because I imagine it'd be even better if it was in the same house, or if you've both got really good internet. Like the ability for, if it was we were talking about last, like Dynasty Warriors, for example, for me to just whack in Dynasty Warriors and be like, Max, do you want to play with us? Just drop in as a second player for half hour.
Yeah, that's so good.
Maybe when you get a PS5, Mike, you can guest star in our Divinity run.
yeah, jump in.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, you wouldn't even need to install Divinity. How many times has Aaron wanted to play a game with you, but you've not had it installed?
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like a co-op game.
Yeah, there's been games that he's bought and wanted to co-op with me, and I'm just like, I can't justify buying the game and just to play, like, probably for an hour before I move on to the next game.
And even like rentals, awesome. Like the amount of rentals that you're now more willing to rent because you're like, oh, I can play that with Aaron, I can play that with Shane, I can play that with someone else because I know I can just do it over the console. I don't know why they didn't talk about this before.
Yeah,
I don't know why this wasn't shared because this is some pretty like groundbreaking stuff.
Unless there's like a limit to what games are playable or what not. Like, does it work
potentially? But it doesn't say
games or.
We haven't. We only tested it on Sackboy, but Sackboy's on both, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
not
sure.
I'm not sure actually.
Could you play it on
Googling
say, Overwatch, for example, or Or
Yeah.
Well, no,
got
it would have to be a couch co-op game.
right. Okay,
PS4 and
yeah.
PS5.
Yeah, so you couldn't do a game that requires two consoles. But you could do any game that only requires one console to play multiplayer.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like the original Overcooked, for example, that's a couch co-op, isn't it?
That kind
So
of
you could do, like,
opens up
that.
the couch co-op genre so much more.
Yeah, it really does. It makes couch co-op a possibility again.
It's the 2020 version of couch co-op. It's
Yeah,
being
yeah.
able to couch co-op with someone while also socially distancing.
Yeah.
And like in
COVID-friendly
America,
features of PS5.
and Japan, I can see it being huge because their internet is so much better. Like our internet's wishy-washy throughout the country.
Yeah.
When Jedi was saying to us the other day, when he was like, "Yeah, I've got okay internet," and he's like, "Yeah, I've got like 500 meg." Well, like that's 5 times what anyone in the UK gets,
Yeah.
and that's when we're paying top whack.
That's right. Okay, Jedi, you work at NASA, we get it.
Yeah, most of the UK is on somewhere like between 50 and 70, and he's
Yeah.
pumping out 500. But if you're running at that sort of net, then with a friend who's running at that sort of net, you can only imagine that it's going to be pure as anything. Because I didn't see any graphical issues with it, but there was a little bit of a controller lag between me and the character moving. But then because of the tech that's in place, and that's only going to get better,
But yeah,
I was like, well, I can live with that.
That's like your latency, isn't it? Like your internet speed or your ping or whatever.
Exactly. But yeah, so that just wanted to throw that in there.
No, that's great.
So that's some really, really interesting piece of information for anyone considering getting a PS5. Right, should we move on to our last segment then? Because we're probably pushing our time already.
Yeah.
How long have we been running for?
An hour 20.
Oh, we got time. We got time.
We got time.
This isn't going to be a particularly long one, to be fair. Our random discussion of the week. So this week we're discussing video game addiction, not being addicted to video games, but specifically addictive video games. So specifically those games that you are addicted to, cannot put down, cannot always want to come back to, and just have no inability to just say, no, go away. Don't touch me there.
Not again.
So to start us off then, my first question to both of you is, what are your most addictive games? Like what games fall into that bracket for you of, this is a game that I am addicted to? Ryan, as the guest, we always start with the guest. It's on you.
See, as a proud owner of an addictive personality, there's a lot of games that fill this sort of addictive hole. I think
All of them,
all video games. I mean, I think any game that I kind of put down and then walk away and kind of want to come back to, even if it's a complete trash game, count for me. But one that's filled a particular gap recently is Hades. So I know that Mike, you've spoke about Hades a couple of weeks back. I've been playing Hades, and it's been times where I've just been sat there. I've put Brooklyn Nine-Nine on my Netflix,
the
the one and only.
Have
And
you heard of Netflix?
I'm not sure if you've heard of it. And I've just started playing Hades, and the next thing I know, I'm like half a season done, and it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, fuck, I should probably go to sleep, but let me just finish this run. And it's just because I will get into why in a minute, but it's the game is just so addictive, and that's my most recent one. But things like Fortnite, I hate to admit it was very addictive. Even things like trashy games like DayZ, just addictive. Any video game, if I enjoy it or if I hate it, it's addictive.
Is that the difference between being addicted to video games versus addictive video games? Is it just that you're addicted to all video games?
I think that maybe there's a predisposition there to wanting to play a game, but there's definitely, there's things about there's certain games that make them addictive. And actually, you touched upon it earlier, Mike. Like COD is the same.
Yeah, that just sort of that element of just one more go or just one more game, and Hades is like prime example of that. It's like just one more run.
Yeah,
and then
I can do better next time.
Yeah, and then you get a bit further, and then you make a bit more progress, and you're like, well, I'll just do another quick run, I'll just try this new thing out, and I think that can keep you like coming back for more.
Mm.
I know. I've been in that exact same situation where it's like 2 a.m. and I'm still like sat with my Switch in my hand, like where's the time gone?
Yeah,
I've been like,
literally the thing that stops me on Hades is battery.
yeah, it's literally I'll play it till the battery's gone. But I've been like sat in bed with my Switch. Ellie's like snoring away next to me, and I'm just there playing Hades, like can't stop.
What about you, Shane?
So for me, there are two standout games for me, and they're going to be fairly obvious to you guys. They are Rainbow Six, because for love nor money, I fucking hate that game, and yet I've been playing it since launch. I don't like it that much. I'm not very good at it. Yet I, for some reason, consistently go back to it and play it some more and play it some more. And with that, it's not even about unlocking stuff. It's more the what just one more game and I'll get better. Like in each game, I'm getting a little bit better, and that's what drives me to play the next one. And I fucking hate the game, and yet I just keep doing it. And my other one is the most addictive game ever, Destiny.
Yeah.
Because I can't. It's what 6 years, 7 years since Destiny 1. I have never put so much time into a console video game in my entire life as I have done Destiny 1 and 2. Even at the point when it was at its absolute fucking worst, when the meta was awful, when the updates were awful, when it was just fucking shit, I was still going back to it and being like, yeah, I'll still play some more Destiny. Like, I'll still sink more money into Destiny. Oh, what's this? There's a new update coming out. I must buy the deluxe edition £90 version of that. I don't need it, but I will buy it. Like, oh, there's a new season out. I probably will only get to level 30 because I don't put enough time into these things because I get distracted by other things. But I'll keep buying those seasons and I'll keep going back every now and then to play it because I am addicted to playing that game and I cannot get away from it.
You okay, Shane?
Like, honestly, it's like it's an abusive relationship with Destiny. It just, because there are days, like most days, I will play another game, but then I'll get to a point where it's like, say it's like 3 PM. I'm like, right, I need to pack up now, tidy up. Lauren's gonna be home soon. I need to sort out some shit, and I'm like, oh, I've got half hour that I could probably just have a quick game of Destiny. If I just do a quick game of Crucible or do a quick strike. Yeah, I get one of them in, and then it's like 2 hours have passed, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't done anything. I'll just get another one of them in. So yeah, those two.
doing
my
the
most addictive
emergency
games.
tidy up before the missus gets home because you've just been
Standard.
playing games all afternoon.
That's when you hear that car door shut outside, you're like, oh
Fuck.
no.
Oh, I fucked up. So we've already touched on it a little bit, with regards to some of it. But what makes games addictive? Because I think there are a handful of different things, and it's going to be different for each person. Obviously, we've already touched on with Hades. It's just that one more run, just that one more. It's only 5 minutes, just that one more run. What else? What other things come to mind?
I think first of all go on, Mike. You go first.
Just this. It's weird because like I wouldn't say I'm addicted to like any one game because I tend to buy a lot of games or like rent a lot of games, and I go through like my game library on the PlayStation alone is like coming up to 400 games now, and it just keeps growing. But I think I'm just addicted to like getting new games and stuff. But like there's one thing that will get me hooked on a game, and it is the story. So going back to like, I know we always talk about it, but The Last of Us and Skyrim, specifically like with The Last of Us, I could not think about anything else but playing that game. Like I was at work and I'd be like, talking to friends about like where they were up to and stuff, and it was just, it was more of like an event for me, that game, when that game came out. Like in getting sort of speaking to like Max and stuff about his like journey in the game or whatever, and then I'd get home and then I'd just be wanting to go straight back on it as soon as I could. I think that was like a super addictive loop. Was the story? I needed to know what was happening and what was gonna, how all the story and characters were gonna develop. But I played that game solidly. Didn't play anything else. Whereas things like Hades and Rainbow Destiny, you'll put them down for a bit, but you'll go back. It's a different kind of addiction, I guess.
Yeah. It's the games with the quick. So there's a couple.
So can we just address what happened to Ryan's voice then? He was like,
I finally just hit puberty on podcast. I'm glad to have shared
So
that
weird.
moment, that very, very intimate moment with you both, and the rest of the internet. So that's fun. Yes, no. So I'm gonna keep talking like this now. No, so, the first one is the quick cycle. Is that it's the Hades, the Fortnite. It's I can't believe I was just killed right at the start. I could do one more.
Yeah.
You could. Gone are the days where you sit down. Even if you do end up sitting down for 4 hours, like having 4 hours where you go, right, I'm gonna play a game. You sit out and you sit there to play 20 minutes. And it becomes 4 hours. It's not the other way around anymore because you just keep kind of going, I can't believe I just screwed that up. I can do better next time. Hades rewards you each time you go through. Fortnite, any battle royale, it's kind of, they're designed to be able to jump into another game at the press of a button. It is literally play again, and you're queued up and you're dropping in again. That there just catches you. There's no clear break. And it's that pride, you want to do better. You can't win at any of these games. I mean, you can kind of win at Hades, but they're not designed to. They're designed to kind of keep you aiming for something that you're never going to get.
Yeah.
Which is why they're quite hard to break out of.
yeah, I mean, this is, I think, going back to like Rainbow, I know you're slightly different to me on this because you care about your rank. Like, I can give a fuck about my rank. I don't care whether I'm silver, gold, bronze. Like, I could literally be like mud. I wouldn't care.
Cardboard 3.
Exactly. But I'm still going back every game going like, I'm so fucked off that I got killed by that guy. I know I can do better. I know I can play a better game. I know I can get more kills. I know I can do. And it's comical that the two games that I find the most addictive are literally polar opposites as to why I find the most addictive. Because Rainbow, like I say, is just about essentially I can do better. It's a quick. It's only 10 minutes. We'll have another round. Whereas Destiny, it's not about getting better. It's about getting better, but about getting your character better, as in gears and items. And it's just I can do another quick strike to see if I can get some more decent gear.
Yeah.
And the way that Destiny's built to be like, yeah, but you kind of have to. You have to spend at least like 3 hours every week just clearing up all this shit that we make you do every week so that you can, be relevant in the game. Because if you don't, then you'll fall behind everyone else and you'll be shit. So you kind of got to do all this shit every week just because, we're Bungie and we're cunts and we're going to make you do all this shit every week.
It's blackmail.
And then I'm going to go, yep, I'll go and do that shit every week. Every week I'll do the same amount of Crucible games, the same amount of strikes, the same amount of like other quests that are identical every week, and I'm going,
Almost like a job at this point.
It literally is a job just to get this like gear that's one light level higher than my previous gear because the soft caps are cunt.
And this is where things like WoW, for example. I mean, I've had many experiences with WoW, and I've sunk a lot of my life into WoW. There's no clear end. And that's the thing, is you can't really, there's always something else you could be doing. Like WoW can easily become a job because you've got to grind tokens or reputation or gear. Destiny works in the exact same way, which is like, go on, you want to. You need to do something else. Just 2 more kills in a Crucible game. Then you do that quest, then another quest pops up. You're like, okay, I could do this one in 2 more games. And then, as you say, next thing you know, it's light out again. And you're late for work.
That actually segues quite well into my final question on this subject. And I know Mike touched on it earlier with COD and the one bad game that gets deleted. But
I'm
what?
waiting for the day.
Not
Please.
so much around when you're addicted to a game like Last of Us, because obviously that ends when the game ends. That addiction is done when you've finished it. But those games that we do keep going back to, the likes of Hades, the Destinies, the Rainbows, the CODs, what breaks the cycle of that addiction to that game? Like, what is it that comes along and goes, no, stop. Stop wasting your life.
For me, it's
Another
usually
Stop,
Ellie.
stop playing WoW.
Yeah.
You need to move on and do some serious shit. Go and cut the grass.
Well, the good thing about the grass is that it generally dies in the winter anyway. So if you leave it too long, it just cuts itself.
That's not the point of why I said that, right?
Which is why I struggle breaking this cycle. No, generally for me, it's another addictive game. I think I just shift the problem from one to the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I
what
agree
you
with that.
need is that, you say like The Last of Us. It's a very finite amount of addiction because you're like, I want to see how this ends. I want to see, like, I'm just so into this world, but it has an end. So you might spend 2-3 months playing Destiny solid, and you go, right, it is now Last of Us week, and you spend a week just doing The Last of Us, and it's enough sometimes to snap you out of that Destiny cycle. Sometimes not, but it's enough to just give you a taste of something else.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
agree with that one, definitely.
I mean, I agree with your comment earlier. It's one bad game too many sometimes.
Yeah,
Definitely with Rainbow and COD. Sometimes it's just after having like 6 bad games, I just go, fuck it, I'm deleting it.
yeah.
I will reinstall it 2 months later. But at the
Yeah.
point, I'm like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore.
Well,
It's actually making me depressed.
I kind of had this moment with playing For Honor, where like nothing makes me rage harder than a fighting game, and that has this perfect element of like just bullshit mechanics, and it was literally one bad game, and almost broken wrist later. I got so mad that I punched the couch because I didn't want to hurt myself. I was mad, but I'm not stupid. But I punched like
Questionable.
through the center of the couch and hit the wood, and I wasn't expecting it, and I hurt my wrist. And then I just uninstalled it with my left hand because my right was really sore. But it was just that one bad game where it's just like I need to just stop playing this game.
I really wish they had done that on stream. I mean, can you imagine watching you like break your addiction of For Honor by punching through a piece of furniture?
I mean, that would be great.
Oh yeah.
I would say that that I have broken away from Destiny, but I don't think I ever have.
No.
I think that addiction just lies in waiting. Like, it just calms down for a little bit, and it leaves me alone for a while, and then out of nowhere, it'll be like the middle of a Sunday, and I'm making a coffee, and my brain will just go, "You should play Destiny for the next month," and I'm like, "Okay,
Okay, brain.
I'll do that, brain. If that's what you want."
Yeah, it's. Yeah. I mean, these games are obviously designed to do just that. They're all fighting for your time, and I think that's where it's always quite difficult to balance what kind of new games are coming out and what what you're still playing 6 years later.
Yeah, I think that's why I can't get into games like Destiny, where it's a constantly evolving game and a live service game, where it's more
Do it for the grind.
it's more like how you value your time in those games. Like, they want your time, don't they, rather than just giving you an experience or some fun. It's kind of like they just consume your time. So like things like WoW and games like that.
Honestly, Destiny sometimes is more of a grind than my actual day job. Like, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
The people that play, what's it called? What's that?
Eve Online.
Eve Online. The people that play that for like hours on end, because that is literally a job, isn't it? Like, you are the manager of a mining company and you just fucking mine shit all day.
Oh wow.
It's a
Like,
second life. Yeah, it's a life.
Yeah.
Expectancy.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I can't do games like that one. I don't have the attention span.
So,
All the time.
yeah. Well, I mean, with the kids that you guys have got in your houses, like, you don't have the time, in fairness.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, soon they'll become part of our Eve mining colony, so it's all good. Once they
It's all,
convert the
it's all,
house.
I mean, are we talking about child labour here? This sounds very dodgy.
No, they're just contributing to the family business. Let's put it that way.
Pretty sure that's also called child labour.
They'll pay tax and stuff.
To you.
Yeah, the ruling class in this house. That's how it works, Shane. What else do you have, kids?
So to wrap up this episode, I mean that was quite a small conversation this week, but we had a lot of PlayStation and Xbox stuff to talk about. So to wrap up this episode, out of everything we spoke about today, Ryan, one line, final thought.
PS5 shows an awful lot of promise once you kind of get through the sort of nervousness around issues. It's going to be great.
One line, don't make me want to punch you in the throat. Final thought.
I'm just going to go back and play COD because I'm addicted to that game.
I half expected you to say then, I'm just going to go pass out after this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to bed because I actually want to die.
I've actually picked up a little bit, like mid
episode.
I was like, I'm fine now. This is the best I've felt all day.
And for me, I am weirdly excited to play Demon Souls. Weirdly very excited. Very excited.
I feel like that, Shane, you're going to become like a hardcore Souls player just because of your need to be better than Ryan.
Literally.
It's not just going to happen. Me. I think it's his stubbornness and his pride will drive him there with or without us.
Yeah.
We are actually the fuel that just eggs him there to his greatness.
Like, yeah, we all know that Shane is an incredibly terrible gamer, but
no, I'm not incredibly terrible. Let's be fair. I'm average at best.
But what I was going to say is
terrible at some things.
You're just very lucky. You somehow just luck your way through things.
I am very lucky. That is a fact. Even in my day-to-day life, like I think of something and I'm just like, I'm going to do this thing, and it just works out. It happens all the time. Ryan can vouch for this. I'm
Can you do me a favour? Can you
build this?
Tell me 6 numbers now, please.
No, I've not won the lottery yet, so that hasn't worked out for me. Anyway, to wrap up the episode, we have a new episode every Monday, and we also have a blog that is every Friday and or Saturday, depending on how lazy Ryan's being that week.
PlayStation week this week.
The latest blog, which actually launched the Saturday prior to this episode going live, was all about Ryan's hands-on time with the PlayStation in more detail. Do check that out. Don't forget to comment and give us your most addictive games. Give us your views on the PlayStation and tell us if you think Miles Morales or Peter Parker is the better Spider-Man. We all know it's Miles Morales. You can find us, as we said before, on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other good podcast places. Please, if you can, we don't want any money. We just would like, if you possibly could, for you to hit the old subscribe button or leave us a comment or 5-star review. Whichever of those is relevant for whatever you're listening on. I think that's pretty much everything. I don't think I've missed anything there, have I?
No, we're all good.
Wonderful. Yep. In that case, thanks, Brian, for coming along. Goodbye.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Triple FD. Triple FD.